So ASM just gave the Hydrasynth a massive new update. We are now on Hydrasynth 2.0, and this is for all the Hydrasynth models. So in this course/tutorial, I'm going to take you through all of the new features and also how to get the Hydrasynth set up with the new update. So first things first, we need to get the update onto our Hydrasynths. Now, most of you, I'm sure, have already done it, so just skip this section. But for those of you who haven't, that need a bit of help in hand, then just keep watching and I'll take you through the whole process. So the first thing that I want to do is go to the ashensoundmachines.com website and then head over to the download section. You'll be brought to this documentation section first, and it's got all of the updated 2.0 manuals. But if you just go to the software firmware, look at that graphic. ASM, let me go back. Look at that. That is something else right there. So you can see in this section here, we've got 4 options for each of the Hydrasynths. And you don't need to download the documentation. Well, 1, because I'm showing you how to do it anyway. But 2, they've actually put the documentation in the firmware packs, which I think's a really nice gesture, because I know when I've gone into other websites for other pieces of equipment I've got, you normally have to like mess around going into different pages to get the documentation, to get the uploader, the manager, the software to upload, as an example, whereas this gives you a full pack. So what you want to do is just click on the one that you've got, and then I've already downloaded this and I put it into this folder here. So you can see it will give you a zipped folder and it says Hydrasynth desktop firmware pack. Double click on that. It'll unzip it. Make sure you've got some sort of software to unzip stuff on your computer. And then this is very important, this. So it says you must update a 2.1.0 before installation. Switched on ASM, making sure people don't mess up. I like that. So yeah, we've got that there. So the first thing that I did, obviously, is I reread it. I'm rereading it again just to make sure. I read it over and over just to make sure I was going to choose the right one. So we need to use the updater. We need to install that first, right? So updater. I'm going to just redo everything again, so just take you through it. There's a guide there as well, but like I said, I'm here to help you. So if you're on Mac, obviously click on this one. If you're on Windows, unzip that. I don't think you have to unzip it, actually. You just click it, don't you? Because it's an exe file. So yeah, we're going to go for the Mac version, obviously. Let's put it on the hard drive, install. Can't see my password, hopefully. And then we're going to close that down. So that's installed now. And then we might as well just install the manager as well, because there's a new manager. I'll probably go through that later on as well. So let's install that. Again, doing the Mac version. So let's just run that, yes. Close that down, go back. Right, so we've done both of them now, and we can move on to installing the firmware, which is this one here, this DAT file. So what I'm going to do is go to my search bar. Obviously, you can go into the apps. I'm not sure what it'll be on Microsoft because I haven't used one in about 12 years. So we'll just put Hydra updater. That's the one, yeah. And then you just follow this. It's really easy. So connect the Hydrasynth to computer via USB. And while we're powering on the Hydrasynth, I want you to hold down the on and latch button. And I want you to release it once it gets to the Hydrasynth logo. So once you've released that, it's put it into the mode it needs to be in to receive the DAT file. So the next thing that we need to do is go to step 3, select the DAT file. So let's go for that, which is right there. And then all you need to do now is just hit start update. Do not disconnect your Hydrasynth while this update is taking place. And then all we need to do once this is finished is to reboot our Hydrasynths. And how do you reboot, you may ask? Well, you basically just turn it off, classic old IT technique. Turn it off and turn it back on again. And then if you go to the system setup, go all the way to the last page, you will see that we are now on OS version 2.00. So before we get stuck into the super juicy sound design options of the new update, I'm just going to quickly take you through some of the system setup changes. And the first one that I want to show you is the new lights menu. So let's take a look at that. So if we go into the system setup, you'll notice that we now on the first page have this light menu, and I'm sure before it was the LED dim that used to be there, but now we've got 3 extra options in this menu. So you can see the first one is that LED dim. I usually have this turned off, but you can put it on and dim the LEDs. The reason why you might want to dim LEDs is if you're working in a dark studio or live on stage and there's not much lighting in that room, you might want to dim the LEDs so it's not glaring into your eyes. Or if you're filming a course like this, as an example, this looks so much better now that I put this on dim and you're able to see the colors more instead of it shining brightly into the camera. So the first one we've got is LED dim. So I'm going to leave that one off. I'm going to leave these quite bright. We've also got patch dim. So this is for the main patch LED here. And you can see you can completely kill this, but I wouldn't want to do that because I really like it. But yeah, if I'm on stage, that's very bright when I'm playing live. So it's obviously a good one to dim, and I'm glad they've added that one. So let's maybe put that on 3 or 2 for now. And then we've also got the tap tempo LED, because it's quite flashy all the time. You can completely kill it, or you can just turn it down a little bit so it's not kind of grabbing your attention. It's good for when you're on stage as well. I kind of like to have this one on because it reminds me of the tempo in case I'm working with the Octatrack and the Digitax Live, and it's just another option, a visual option. If I cut the audio, I can see what the tempo is. And then we've also got the pads dim. So this is the one that I always turn down for when I'm filming. So I'll probably leave this on 4. Again, you've got an option to kill it, but they put feel it. So I kind of like that. Instead of seeing what you're pressing, you just go for it instead. But yeah, I'll leave that on. It's always good to have that on. So let's exit that. And that's pretty much it for that. So yeah, you've still got left contrast, right contrast there to dim the LED screens. And then you've got light show there as well. So that's the timer where when you put it on like say 10 seconds, after 10 seconds, it will perform a light show. So let's take a look at another option that we've got in the system setup menu. So this one is called Effects Bypass Menu. And if we go into this, you can see we've got 4 options here to be able to disable, you can see the LEDs going off, disable the effects modules. So we've got pre-effects, post-effects, and we've also got delay and reverb. So why is this useful? So maybe you're playing a live performance, or in the studio you have a particular setup, maybe you have your own reverb externally outside of the Hydrasynth. For what you can do is just disable the reverb, and it's globally as well. So if we exit this and save the system preferences, you'll notice that the reverb module is off, but not just for this patch, every single patch within the Hydrasynth. So it means you can delegate this module out externally to a reverb pedal or some high-end equipment that you've got outside of the Hydrasynth. So if we go back into that menu, I love the fact that they've added individual options for each of these, because like I said, you might just want to replace the reverb, you might want to place the delay and reverb and keep the pre and post effects for choruses and distortions as an example, or you might want to turn all of them off and just use an effects chain outside of the Hydrasynth. And the LEDs are great actually, because if you're playing live, or if you're in the studio and you've got an effect set up, but then when you play live, you disable that effect setup and you want to put these back on, as soon as you go to that live show, you can see straight away that they're off. You know that you need to go straight into the system setup, just bang them back on. So yeah, I really like that. It's not something I'm looking to use at this point in time, but I'm sure we'll use it in the future for a project. So this next one is great. I love that they've done this, and that is the 3 new banks that are available to owners of the Hydrasynth, the desktop, and the Explorer. The owners of Hydrasynth Deluxe already have 8 banks. So what this has done is it's updated other users to be able to have 8 banks of patches as well. It brings another 384 patch locations to the Hydrasynth. So for me, this is brilliant. I'm already running out of banks already because I have like a couple of studio banks, which are kind of for messing around. I have a couple of live set banks with like patches for live sets. And then I also have my sound design patches. So these are the ones that I create publicly to sell. So I've got a couple of banks there as well. And I like to move patches around as I put them through different variations. So this is great for me, having that many banks. So as you can see, if we exit the system setup, I'm already on the last one actually. But yeah, you can see there we've got A, it's all the way through to H. So yeah, it's a brilliant addition and I love that. This next edition is only a very small update, but it's really good for workflow enhancement, and that is in the browse and the save window. You can see we now have an extra macro called bank. So if I am, say, in bank G, and I have a patch in here that I need to save into bank A, which is my live set bank, I used to have to scroll all the way through like this, and it would take me a long time, even with the shift held down. But now I can just go straight to bank A, find the target, and just save it. So it's a lot quicker. It's also in the browse window as well. You can see it here. If you change the find by section to category, you can see it no longer becomes available, but it is available in find by name and patch. So this next one I want to talk about is the new target options for randomization and initialization. This is a very welcome addition for me because it's a good workflow enhancer. If we're going to oscillator 1 and take a look at the wave scan mode and look at the wave list edit, normally what I would have to do is put these in manually, but quite often I will hold random and select random waveforms and come up with different combinations, or I could initialize them using the initialize button. But there's a workflow update, and that's basically a way in which you can randomize all of them at once or initialize all of them at once. So hold random down and press the wave list edit option. If we go in there now, we can see they've all populated, and it's good because while it's playing, you can just quickly scroll through. So for me, that's great. And then if I want to erase all of them, I can just press initialize on the wave list edit, go in, and they've all initialized. So we've also got this option in other places as well. So I'm glad to put this on here because I'm going to use this a lot. If we're going to wave step on an LFO, again, to do the step edit, you either put them in manually or raise them manually. Erase them with initialize or randomize them like this. And I usually use this to come up with funky modular sequences, but I love the fact that I can now do it on the step edit button. So if we go like this, we can erase it all, and you can see it on the LED screen as you're doing it as well. So while that was playing, I could just randomize the steps and then until I land on something that really resonates with me. So that's great. I'll definitely be using that a lot. Let's initialize that. And then the third one is in the voice menu. So I haven't talked about this yet, but we're going to talk about the voice mod options and explore them in more detail. But these are very similar in the sense that you can put these values in manually, or you can randomize them or initialize them. Or as you've probably already guessed, if we exit, we can just go straight to the voice mod edit button and we can randomize that from there, all of them at once, or initialize them. So this next one's a simple one. If we exit this, we can go to the favorites menu. And as you can see here, this has not changed since I last populated these slots for the course, because I don't really use it, to be honest, but it's great when you're on stage, if you're playing live with keys and stuff like that, and you just want to quickly bring up your favorite presets for a live show. But again, I don't use this because I change my presets from the Octatrack using program change. But you can see we've got these 4 different pages of favorites, and to select them, you click on them and it changes the preset. We've got 4 pages. The new update just basically saves the state of what page you're on. So if you exit and then go back into the favorites, you can see we land back on 3. It's good because if you want to come out and make some changes and then go back in, it takes you back to that page again. But yeah, it's not particularly something that I'm overly excited about, but I'm sure those of you that are using this would be very pleased that that is now a thing. So a lot of people in the community was asking for this one, and that is in system setup on page 4. You have this local on off option. I usually leave this on because the way that I have my system set up with Ableton, I don't need to switch this off, but it can prevent MIDI feedback loops. What used to happen in previous versions of the Hydrasynth is if you turn this off and then switched off the Hydrasynth, powered it back up, this would reset to on, which is obviously very frustrating if you want this off all the time. So let's just test it. I've turned it off now, exit, let it save, switch off the Hydrasynth, put it back on again. And you can see we now get a dialog box letting us know that local is off. So let's go back to local and just put that back on again. So this next one is a great one for those keyboard virtuosos out there that have got sustain pedals. So this one is in the voice section, and we have got the sustain pedal options here. The third one, actually, I will admit this is very useful for me, but normally we have sustain where you can basically sustain notes. With this one though, the sosten or sostenuto, because I'm from Hull, I'll probably pronounce it wrong. I'm going to call it sausage. So the sausage option will allow us to sustain a chord or a note without sustaining all other notes after you've pressed it down on the pedal. So obviously this is on a piano, so it brings that option to the Hydrasynth as well. I'm sure that's very exciting for those of you that play piano and have a pedal. What's more exciting to me though is the fact that I can get rid of this sustain option and just use a pedal as a mod only option. So this is more, I mean, this can be obviously used for the piano players. I'm not saying it's for us guys that are using sequencers, but what this would do for me in a live setting is I can now rock a sustain pedal live and do something cool with it. So I can bypass the sustain option, just use it in mod only, and then if I go to the mod matrix section, I can see I've already set this up when I was playing around, but let's just initialize that. Go to assign. I'm going to go all the way through to sustain. Where is it? Sustain pedal. If we go down, we can set this up to wherever we want. So we can just do something simple like the filter cutoff, add a bit of depth amount, test it on the sustain pedal. It works. Or we can go back to the top. Now, what I'm thinking is, in a lot of my patches that I create, I'll have like an effects. I don't know why I've changed that, to be honest. Let me just go back. Sorry, I was doing two things at once there. So yeah, I would have like a macro on say 8, and that would be like my big effects macro. What I could do with a sustain pedal, as an example, I'm going to give you like an extreme version of how I could use it live. I would go to the macro. Let me just try and find it. Macro, and then select macro 8, turn it all the way up. And then I could potentially open up all of the 8 parameters that are on my effects macro. Now I could take it a step further, and I can have my sustain pedal be like a really special option for me to just absolutely wangle the Hydrasynth into oblivion and set up more of these. So yeah, let's go to sustain pedal again. Sustain pedal, go to macros again. And let's say we could do this indefinitely and do all of them. So let's go 7, obviously turn that one up as well. Now we open up 2 macros, and you could then assign that to other options on the Hydra as well. Don't forget we've got 32 slots there, plus the macros if we set them up in that way. That's a lot of parameters that you can open up with a sustain pedal. And look, I only have 2 hands, and I've got other machines that I need to operate as well. So I'm actually thinking now, in real time, that I might go ahead and pause this for a minute and go and buy myself a sustain pedal. So for this next one, we go back into voice, and on page 2, you can see we've got Vibrato Amount. Vibrato is not something I use often really on the Hydrasynth, but for those of you that got the keyboard version, you've obviously got the mod and pitch wheel, and you can set these options here. But with Vibrato Amount, it used to go up in increments of 1, but now it's in factors of 10. So you can see we've got these incremental steps in between to get finer adjustments, which I suppose is quite handy for those of you that are using vibrato a lot. And then this one is very exciting. This is probably going to be the first time in this video up to this point that I'm actually going to play some sound. So I apologize that it's been pretty dry up to this point. But you can see here, we've got an extra option now. So glide is this one, that effect where you can glide between notes. Now we have another option called Gliss or Glissando. And listen to this, this is really cool. So you can hear it stepping between notes. Obviously I'm going chromatically, but if you go down to the next page, remember I showed you this in the course, you can basically change the scales. So we can go to major. I kind of like how it has a bounce to it as well. So it's not going through the notes systematically at the same speed for each one, depending on how far they are apart. What it's doing is it's skipping them. So it's like obviously it's not doing it like that, but it sounds like it's muting the ones that are not in key. So you get this like jump. So listen again. That's like a funky rhythm to it. Let's listen to a minor scale. See what that sounds like. Let's go harmonic minor. I just realised I said harmonic minor. I meant harmonic minor. There we go. Right. It's quite funky, isn't it? Like, Like, I can imagine that with a beat going to it, and that would sound pretty cool. So I love that there's actually, maybe by accident or maybe on purpose, there's a rhythmical element to that as well, and I like that. And obviously you can change the speed. Yes, mate. I'm now a proper keyboard virtuoso, and all I'm doing is hitting 2 keys. David Guetta would absolutely love this. So yeah, let's speed it up. I could do that live now, and people will think I'm awesome. Yeah, I could have loads of fun with that in the studio as well. I could maybe set record in Ableton and just come up with some really funky like lead flourishes in a track. Great for like melodic techno, that, especially on the harmonic minor. Okay, so I just paused the video, ready to do the next little tip, and I got really excited. I was like, I love that when I was like speeding up and slowing it down. So I thought I'd just chuck in a little tip here. Right, I've got this idea and I'm gonna do it real time. I ain't even tested it yet. So let's go. I don't know why I was doing that, because that's not even nothing to do with it. Let me go down 3. Right, let's have a look. So we've got the glide time, and I liked when I was doing this, like speeding it up and slowing it down. I've just had a great idea, right? So LFO1, let's send that to voice, and then let's go to, hopefully it's there, and I'm sure it is. Yes, glide time. Right, let's speed it up a little bit. Let's just have a quick listen first, see what it sounds like. It works. My idea works. Right, so let's bring it down a bit. And let's just slow down the glide time. So let's go, let's put it on, say, like 60-ish. So yeah, we get some variations in the speed now, and then let's maybe sync that up. Put it on 1/8. It works, my theory works. So what I'm thinking is, if you had this obviously synced up with a tempo and a sequencer, and these notes that I was pressing was completely in sync with the beat, and maybe not even using sine, like you could use a step, maybe with like a bit of smooth as well, and you could come up with a sequence that like glides and moves around the speed of the glide time. I've just come up with, I've got my brains ticking in overtime here, because I'm just thinking of how that could be quite cool. So I'd recommend going into the mod matrix and using some modulation sources on the glide time, seeing what weird quirky variations you could come up with. Don't forget, you can always send like an envelope to it as well. So you could have like a really fast start and then it slows down. There's just so many cool things there that you could try out to come up with something unique. So I'm definitely going to explore that. So this next feature is an update for the arpeggiator, and this is the Arp Step Offset. If we go into the Arp section, you can see we've got the step offset here, and we can shift it to the right or to the left by 32. So I'll quickly explain what this means. Imagine that this is an Ableton piano roll, but let's say I've only got 4 notes, right? And I've got a loop brace which loops this round, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes round 1, 2, 3, 4. Imagine I've duplicated that. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here again, but I have a loop brace which contains it here. Now let's say if I move the loop brace to the right, that would be like going 1 on here. Then I move it to the right, and now my sequence starts on 2. So it goes 2, 3, 4, 1. Let's move it again. Moves it over, and now I start on 2, and I end on... No, it doesn't. It starts on 3, and it ends on 2. I'm getting confused by my own way of explaining it. Right, so it goes 3, 4, 1, 2, then move it over, 4, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, I'd have to move it up like that. So let's just listen to this in real time. Now you kind of get the concept of it. Another way of explaining it is like on the Digitact or the Octatrack, if you hold function and press left or right, you can move the step grid around, so it like shifts it all over, so it starts at a different step. Similar sort of thing, right? So let's just check the arpeggiator, and I want to change the mode now to phrase. You can use this on any of them, but I think the best way to show you this is by putting it on phrase, finding a funky phrase, maybe slowing it down so we can really hear it. So it's quite a simple phrase, but I kind of like that because it relates to what I was doing down here. It's 4 steps, so dun dun dun. Right, remember that where it starts, right? If I go step offset, listen to it now. And again. And again. Let's try it with a different phrase. That's got a bit more going on. Speed it up a bit. Right, okay, remember the phrase in your mind. Let's change it. And again. So you can hear it starts at different locations. So yeah, you can do it forwards or backwards. So yeah, it's a really good way of just like shifting everything over. Obviously, if you're running that with a sequencer or some rhythmical element like drums, you'll really hear that shifting over. Another new feature that we have in the Arp section is that we now have more octaves available. So you can basically, maybe I should go to a lower octave. Just turn this up a little bit. And then, so normally we had like 3. I think. I know it was 4, wasn't it? But yeah, now we can go to 6. So yeah, that's great that you've got those extra octaves now to play with. So this next feature is quite possibly one of my favourites of the new update, and I'm sure it is for many others out there as well. This is a very welcome addition. So we've got the bit reduction, and I love this. I love the sound of bit reduction in the Octatrack. I love the sound of bit reduction in Ableton. Obviously make like a lot of electro and stuff as well, and it's great for that kind of stuff. And I'll show you what this does, right? So if we go to say triangle, you'll start to see degradation of the sound. So it basically reduces the resolution of it, and you can see it start to step like that. And now we can hear like extra frequencies coming. And then obviously towards the bottom end of it, when we go to 2, we get more of a square. But it's these in-between ones that are interesting to me. It's had a bit of distortion to that as well. That's lovely. Yeah, I love that. So let's just go through the different waves. And you can kind of hear. You can get really nasty with it as well. Yeah, absolutely love it. I mean, we could go to a patch, couldn't we, and just see what it does to an existing patch. So if I go to, I can't remember where I put my presets now from the preset pack. I think they're on E. Let's have a look. Yeah, there they are. Let's just shift this up a bit. Try to find something that's a little bit soft. Let's go for this one. And let's just look at what, maybe just look at one oscillator first. See, that's got so much kind of like raspiness to it now, and metallic aspects. Let's bring up the next oscillator. And then the third one. Could change it into a square, couldn't we? Listen to before. Much softer sounding. So yes, I definitely added a lot of grit to that patch. So this next one, I'm just as excited about this as I am excited about the bit reduction in the oscillator section. So this is with the modulations of the envelope and the LFO. And you can add quantization. I'll show you what it looks like. Add quantization to the modulation, and it steps it like this, and it sounds brilliant when you use it like that. But in the manual, so they released the manual for the update, and there's an example of how to use this, and they use like a real world example of how you can make the Hydrasynth sound like a trombone. And I thought that was really interesting because I'd never really tried to create real world instruments, but from a sound design perspective, I thought it was interesting how you can use Quantise to create the spit aspect of the beginning of a trombone. and it sounds quite convincing. So I'll show you what that sounds like. We'll go through the steps. So what we've got is a lower bass note, and if we bring the cutoff all the way down, go to the filter and add, let me just turn that back off, add full amount of envelope, and then open up the attack. You can see we start to get this brassy sound. But then the cool thing is, if you use the quantize function and set this to around 9, you get that kind of like raspiness at the beginning. I thought that was really interesting. Obviously, the way that I would use this more often is at higher, like longer modulation types like this. Like, I love that kind of sound. Obviously, you can make it finer or more stepped. I just think it's a really interesting way of working with modulation. Obviously, it applies to the decay and stuff as well, so. Yeah, it's really cool. So I'll definitely be using that a lot. Right, so I absolutely love this one as well. And if we go to the LFO, you can see on the second page, we have got a quantize option again. Similar kind of thing. Let's set it up and listen to what it sounds like. I am going to show you where that I'm going to be using it and rinsing it a lot. So let's bring the cutoff down. Add a bit of LFO. Let me just turn this down on my Octa tracks. It's a little bit loud there. Just clipping. So yeah, now we've got that going. I love, obviously, you've seen the course, most of you. You know what I'm really into: high resonance stepped kind of filter type stuff, modular sounding stuff. So what we're going to do with this is I'm going to put this on a slow rate, like that. Then I'm going to go, obviously put it on single. Let me just go to voice mode as well. Put this in mono. Go back to the LFO. Add a bit of drive. And then use the quantize feature. In fact, let's put this on triangle as well. So it goes up and down. And it starts to play with this. That's class. I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's very cool. Let's go into this and just I always get carried away once we start doing this kind of stuff, and then the tutorial goes on for longer, because then I just want to make it into something. That's cool. Let's add a bit of delay as well, just to kind of finish it off. Bit of reverb. Let's just have a little play around as well with some more stuff, so you can obviously speed it up. Change the quantize, or slow it down again and have like more steps, or less steps. Yeah, that's great. I'll definitely be playing around with that a lot. So let me just turn that off. Yeah, that's a great little feature, that. In fact, that you can just step quantize the LFOs, and obviously you can choose anything you want. So you can change these to a saw up or saw down or sine, and you can still use the smooth feature as well. So it obviously doesn't make too much of a difference. You can see it shift a little bit there. It's worth playing around with. That works. Let's have a quick listen to that. That's quite interesting. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Sweet, yeah, I love that. So this next one that we're going to look at is the step advance for one-shot LFOs. So let's take a look in the LFO section again and put this onto a step. And let's put it on single trig, just go back into voice, put this to mono. And then what I want to do is send the LFO to the oscillator pitch. Just so we can, actually let me shift this up one as well. Just so we can set a sequence. Now I'm not too bothered about it sounding in tune. I just want to do something kind of weird and modular and dissonant sounding. So I'm just going to randomize the step edit. So I'm using that function that we talked about earlier. Obviously it's a bit slow, so let's put BPM on. Right, it's a really demented little sequence, but we'll go with it. Right, and I could set up the envelopes and everything, but to save time, let's just do it like that. You can hear the note changes. Now, the new feature is that you can basically, instead of having it as a one shot like this, then it stops, you can go right again and you get step. I'm holding one note, press it again, just the next note in the sequence. And it allows you to sounded really weird, that, didn't it? Let's do a different sequence. But you get the idea, so you can basically move the steps along by pressing a key. Let's go to randomize step edit and try a different sequence. Obviously, you can experiment with that, play that along with a beat and try and come up with a weird pattern and record it, or use a trigger from something to trigger the note. But yeah, I find that quite interesting, actually. I probably would use it. Yeah, I can imagine you could come up with quite a funky sequence by doing that. So this next one is another great addition, and I know I've said that time and time again as we've gone through it, but it's been such a good update for the Hydrasynth. And that is in the voice section on page 3. You've now got a voice mod edit, so you can offset the voices. And what I mean by voices, obviously when you hold a chord, that's 3 voices, that's 4 voices, and so on. What I can essentially do is offset each of those voices to have a modulation offset, and I can send that to anywhere I want. So if we go into the mod matrix and assign voice mod to oscillator 1 pitch, and just add a touch of this, maybe like 10, come back into the voice and go into voice mod edit and just hold one of the voices, you can hear that I'm able to detune that voice. Now if I press another key, that's voice 2, and you can hear that I can now pitch that differently to voice 1. And if I hold 3, I can make a chord where the voices are detuned from one another like this. So they're slightly off, and it gives it more of a warm vibe, a more analog vibe, I think. And this is not just for doing, say, the pitch. You can send these anywhere you want. So another key one would maybe be the filter, or you might want to get experimental and have different, say, FM amounts for each of the voices. So maybe we should try that. And you can send these anywhere you want. I mean, I would probably send them to like decay amounts and things. So like each voice has a slightly different envelope to kind of give it that idea that it's got broken components in the synth, where the components for each of these modules are like slightly offset for each voice, and it's all wonky. I would kind of go quite extreme on this and try them all out. So let's try the FM next. So let's bring up a bit of distortion there as well, and then So what we'll do actually for this is I'll just do the depth amount, right? So let's go to the mod matrix and assign voice mod to mutant 1 ratio, sorry, not ratio, depth amount. Let's just put it quite high and then just go turn this one off for now. Go back to the voice. Obviously, you'll have to play around with the amounts that you add to it. So you can hear that definitely working there. So let's just bring it up a little bit. Voice 2 add a lot more. Voice 3. Full. And that's going to rotate around as well. It's going to change every time because depending on what order you press the keys, you're going to have different readouts for each. Because obviously voice 1 is the first one you press. Voice 2, second one you press. Voice 3. If you're playing a chord like that, you're going to press them in slightly different orders each time. If we go back to the mod matrix and just delete that one and turn that up a bit but not have it so crazy, and then go back to turn this mutant off as well. Go back to voice mod edit, just initialize these. Add a little bit like that to each. One thing I was thinking about is, one thing I love to do is send a random LFO to the pitches of the oscillators, but what we could do is we could also reroute stuff around as well. So we could go LFO 1 to mod matrix depth 1, which will be this depth amount here. You can hear that moving now. So let's just add maybe like that much, so it's quite subtle. Go to the LFO, put this on, I like to use sample and hold with smooth. Now it's an extreme version, I would be a little bit more subtle with it, but you can hear not only have we got offsets for each of the notes, we've also got it moving around as well. The depth amount. And then obviously when you put a bit of reverb and delay on that, it'll sound quite lush. So you can hear it's really moving around there. It's quite nice. And then, yeah, let's just finish off by maybe assigning the voice mod again to the cutoff and see what that sounds like. So let's go voice mod to filter 1 cutoff. That's quite extreme, but I would try adding like a little bit of it. And then if I was to start making this into a patch, like I said before, you know, I would add like a bit of envelope. Now I wonder what it would sound like if I used the voice mod again, but sent it to envelope 1, maybe attack and decay. Maybe we could do a bit of both. Let's try the attack first. Let's do a decay as well. Let's just get a bit creative with it. So decay. That sounds so nice. So you can hear there that what we're doing is each of these, you can hear it there when I step it across. They all have different shaping, different filter amounts, different pitches, and then I'm modulating the pitches with the LFO. That's just a few things then. It already sounds like really nice and analog. And then if we go back up to the voice section, maybe add a little bit of analog feel, not flavor, I will remember. Warm mode on to make it just a bit damper and boost the low end. Random phase, so we change the phasing of the oscillators as well. Yeah, that's great. I love that. Let's actually just go back into this mod matrix now. Try and remember what that feels and sounds like. And then I'm just going to delete them all. Or I could go into the voice mod this and then just initialize it. Remember, you can randomize and initialize that. So listen to this. And then if I initialize it, it's just so lifeless compared to it. That's your digital sound, that is. That's like really clean. Obviously, I've still got some analog feel and stuff on, but with that randomizing it, I mean, that's just going to be crazy, but I need to have lower values. Yeah, great stuff. I love that. So my next patch preset pack that I make, I'm definitely going to use that on every patch almost, especially for like pads and chords and things like that. It sounds great. Right, let's look at the new Hydrasynth Manager 2.1. So it's got a new GUI, which I kind of like. It seems a lot more simple to look at and use. I feel like I can explain this without looking in the manual. Because everything's got like nice icons, everything's got big text that's listed properly. So it's they've definitely improved the GUI. And what I can do is I can just show you the basics of how to use it, how to load patches, import patches, where the folders are stored on your computer, things like that. So you can see with these icons, you've got a computer icon, which is all of the stuff that's installed or saved on your computer. And you can see I've already started populating some folders. I've got a James Orvis presets one, which has got my main preset pack, plus the demo pack that you can get hold of, and also some presets from part 3 of the courses. And then you can see I've got a live backup, which is my bank A, which is my live set backup. And then before every gig, once I've done some work, I always put my backups in there. You can see we've got the packs that come with the Hydrasynth website from the website. I don't know how I've ended up putting mine in there, but I think that was when I first did it. I saved it in there by accident. And user, they just give you a user folder. And again, I think I've popped one in there by accident, but A, B, C, D, and E. Obviously, that's changed now because you've got extra banks. But let's just reveal one of these and I'll show you what it looks like. So if I hit reveal, you can see there that it's just a folder with these .hydra files in there, these document files, and that's for the presets. That contains the information for the banks. If we go to, let's have a look, create single bank, because it brings up this folder, which is quite useful to show you on here as well. If we go up a step and up again, you can see in the, that's my computer, and then you've got documents, ASM, Hydrasynth. Once you go into there, you have then got backup and patch. If you go into patch, you can see those folders are listed there. I can put a new folder in. I can, yeah, let's go for that actually. So if I call this one test, create folder, I'm going to create a new bank in test. So a bank can be one of these grids, these 128 slots. So that's what a bank is. Let's call this one, actually I better go into the test folder first. Best bank ever mate. Put a mate on the end as well. Right, so let's go create. So best bank ever mate, let's go and find it. Test, best bank ever mate, it's got nothing in it, so it's definitely not the best bank ever. But I'll show you how we can copy stuff over into the best bank ever to make it the best bank ever. So let's go to the Hydra packs, right? So if we go to some of the factory ones here, and not that one, don't know what's going on there. I think I've messed with these in the past. Here we go, 2.0, right? Let's say if you've gone through all of the Hydrasynth presets and you're like, I really like that one. I'm going to drop that in there. I really like that one. That can be number 2. And I really like this one. Maybe you've like written down in before. And then you want to go into another bank, or you might want to go to like my preset pack, and you might think, right, I really like all of the pads. So I'm going to hit select, hold shift down, and I'm going to drop them in there like that. So I'm building up the pads now. And then maybe I want to go into my live backup folder, and I'm like, actually, there's a few. I'm holding command now, so I can select different ones like that instead of shift. I'm just doing this randomly. Obviously, write them down, select what you want, drop them in there like that. and you start to build your best bank ever, mate. That's how you do it. So that's one way of doing it. And then once you're ready to transfer best bank ever, mate, to your Hydrasynth, then you go to a free slot, or you can go to a slot and erase everything. See, we've got stuff at the top here: rename, cut, copy, paste, delete. All self-explanatory stuff. I'll probably have to go through it anyway now. Now I've mentioned them, right? So pad chopper, let's delete that. And I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, delete patch from the Hydrasynth not supported. Sorry, that's my bad. Let's go and delete this one instead. Right, I can delete stuff like that, or I can just obviously hit the backspace. I can paste stuff in using the buttons, or I could use, let's see if it works yet, copy and paste the usual way. Using like Command C, Command V, etc. Rename. So let's obviously press that, and you can rename the patch. I'm not going to, because I'm a bit lazy right now. This is the last like section I'm doing of this tutorial. I'm going a bit delirious now. I've had these lights on my face all day. Right, so yeah, we can do all these editing things. It's pretty self-explanatory. And while I'm up here, I might as well just explain that. You can import factory banks from elsewhere. The multi-bank stuff, I mean, obviously single banks for me is obviously I'm on the desktop, but if you've got the bigger Hydras, you've got the multi-bank, so you can create multi-banks with that. Obviously I can't show you that because I've only got the desktop. Let's just continue on this. So we can change the window size. I should have probably started with this top bit, I'm sorry. 140 is way too big. Let's go back to 120. That's a nice size, that. Let's leave it on that. Right, so yeah, we've got them, import bank, rename, blah, blah, blah. You can tell I'm getting to the end of the day, can't you? Right, backup unit or restore unit. Right, so this is very, very handy, right? This is all of the banks on the Hydrasynth. So if you hit backup, you can save a backup somewhere. I usually keep them on my hard drive. You can just back up the whole thing. I might start doing that instead of just backing up the live folders. And then restore unit, obviously it's the same thing in reverse. You click it, you choose the backup file, and it reinstalls it. And then you can see we've got mode, single and multi. I can't get on multi obviously because I haven't got, I've just on the desktop. And then refresh, I'm guessing that's just if you want to refresh the browser in case it's not updating. Pretty self-explanatory stuff. Right, so I went on a little bit of tangent there, so let's go back to the task at hand, which was to put best bank ever, mate, on the Hydra. So you want to make sure you're on the Hydra, choose the bank you want to put it into. You can delete that if you want. Oh, it's not letting me do it, is it? Anyway, forget about that. All right. So we're going to grab, you can grab them all if you want like that, and then just drop them in, and it will take a little bit of time, and then it'll start to populate on the Hydra. So they're actually on my Hydrasynth now. If you wanted to install my preset pack, maybe you bought that and you haven't done it yet, go to the James Orvis Hydrasynth presets once you put it into the correct folder. And then go like this, and again just drop them in like that, so you can see it populate. It's really easy stuff. So some of you are probably thinking, well, I've seen you try to delete stuff off the Hydra about 1,000,000 times and you can't do it, so how do you do it? Well, the workaround that I normally use in the past is if you look in a different bank, maybe it's on the Hydra or the computer, you can see these initialize patches, which are basically patch data, but they're initialized to the initialized patch. So you can just drag one of them over like that and it will erase it. If you want to take a full row, or let's take 4 rows, drag them over. And I'm pretty sure you can do it within the same bank. So let me just try that. So let's go bank C. Let's just put that there in bank H. And then let's see if we can just copy over. Oh no, it just swaps it around, doesn't it? Yeah, it swaps it around. So what you have to do is you always have to kind of transfer from one side to the other side. See, I can go to bank H again like that. So if you're on the same bank like this, you just have to use one side and then copy it over to the other. Yeah, there's probably better ways of doing this. I apologize if there is. So that's pretty much it. It's been an amazing update for the Hydrasynth, the 2.0, and I actually didn't think they would add anything else to the Hydrasynth because I thought it was completely maxed out already. I've seen rumors on the Facebook group that it's maxed out, but obviously it's not. It's kind of like Electron in it when they say it's maxed out and then they add more stuff. which makes you super happy when they actually do something. So yeah, I think it's great. It was already an awesome synth if you didn't actually need anything. Maybe it needed a couple of things like in the settings, you know, like the local on problem where when you restarted it, it didn't load to the point that you saved it at. Things like that, obviously, they're updates that need to happen. But these additions, I wasn't expecting them, and they've been awesome. So yeah, really happy with it, and it just adds more power to the Hydrasynth. So if you've enjoyed this video and you have enjoyed my horrible Hull accent and you can actually understand what I'm saying, then maybe you want to take some courses from me. So I've got a Hydrasynth Mastery course, which is in 3 parts, which you can buy separately or they're in a bundle. Part 1 will take you through the Hydrasynth and how to use every aspect of the Hydrasynth, and then we'll finish it up with 3 patch creations at the end. And then after that, we've got part 2, which is my favorite one actually, because I got to try out loads of tips and tricks, ones that I already knew, but stuff that I wanted to kind of find out what the Hydrasynth could do if I pushed it. So that's like sound design tips and tricks. There's loads of them in there, and you can use them to make patches more interesting and just get a bit more experimental. And then part 3 is 10 patches built from the ground up. So those are actually in my preset pack. And it's good to go through the process over my shoulder to see exactly how I make patches and the thought process that I have while making them. And I do believe by doing all 3 courses, it will make you a better sound designer. And even if you don't want to create your own sounds, it'll just help you sculpt presets that are already out there, which is something that I've done for many years in my own productions. Before I started making patches for other companies and for myself, I would find a patch. This is what most people do. Find a patch, it fits my song. Then I would learn enough sound design to enable me to be able to sculpt it into the project. So even if you just do like course 1 or you just watch the patch creations at the end, then you can get a lot out of it, which will help you tweak patches to fit your tracks. So my name's James Orvis, and I hope you've enjoyed this content. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe, do all that stuff that you're supposed to do. That helps me create more content. And if you've got any ideas for tutorials or courses that you want me to do, please let me know in the comments below, or you can email me at james@jamesorvis.com, and I will respond to you and let you know if it's possible to do those. I've got a lot of Electron boxes here. I've got the Arp 2600, some modular gear, Ableton. So I'm open to doing courses that help you guys out, whatever is popular at the time. And if you want one-to-one tuition, I also do that as well. So I do a lot of online teaching over Skype using Audio Movers and Ableton, and I quite often engineer people's tracks for them as well. So if you're struggling to create music, write music, perform music, get stuff out there, please let me know. I know it's a struggle, and we can work something out, and I can be of assistance for you in a more personal way as well. So yeah, I'm James Orvis. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next tutorial or course.